All right, everybody. Wow. I am so excited to be here. Thank you so much, Lindsay, for the opportunity to be here. I want to apologize in advance if I sound a little nasally. I picked up some kind of a crazy head cold or something over the just yesterday. I don't know what's going on with me, but I am very excited to be here. This has been something I've been looking forward to, and I'm very excited to talk to you about some things that I prepared for tonight's call. And I'm going to try to lean really close here on my camera. My wife was very nervous that I said I was doing this call from our bedroom and that there would be video. And so hopefully you can't see anything behind me that would get me in trouble with my wife. But I'm excited to be on this call with you, to share a few ideas with you that I've got kind of jotted down. And honestly, guys, this idea of droughts, right? Kind of going through these flat spots of our business. This is something that's very, very common, and this is something that happens. But before I get into that, what I want to do is kind of set up everything, if I can, with an analogy. And the reason why I do that is I think that if we can kind of plant some of these ideas, these visualizations in your mind, it will help you after this call when maybe you've forgotten 80% of what I said, but to just kind of have a visual, an idea in your mind about what's happening. Because one of the things that makes the droughts hard is when you feel like you're the only one going through it. You start to look around and wonder if it's just you. You start to wonder, is it happening to anyone else but me? And so I'm going to give you an analogy, and that it deals with running marathons. I've run a few marathons in my life, and just recently I did one about 3 months back. And one of the things that I can count on in a marathon, no matter how much I've trained, no matter how much I've prepped, is that mile 18 is going to kill me. Okay, mile 18 for me is the hardest mile. Mile 18 and 19 specifically are the hardest one. That dang mile 18, because I hit mile 18 and you're not quite into the 20s yet, where you feel like you're like on the downhill stretch, and you've just been running for so flipping long at that point. Usually for me, it's at like 3 hours, okay, nonstop running. And I find myself in that zone at mile 18 where I just want to be done. I just want to stop. I don't want to take another step. In fact, you find yourself thinking crazy stuff like, you know what, it doesn't even matter. I don't even care anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm done. I'm done running. Like, I just don't want to do that. And I got to tell you, the very first time that I hit mile 18 in a marathon, not having had the experience before, it was really, really hard for me to keep going. It was really, really hard for me to push through it. And the funny thing is even in subsequent marathons that I would run, even still, mile 18 was hard, but it wasn't quite as hard, because I knew that if I just kept running, I just had to keep running. Okay, if I just kept running, even though I was going to feel like it was never going to end, okay, if I just kept running, that pretty soon I would push through that wall and I would see the finish line and I would get to where I'm trying to go. Okay, and so the first time it was really hard. Subsequent times it got a little bit harder. Well, that kind of deals a little bit with what we're talking about when it comes to going through droughts in our business. And honestly, I hope tonight I can share a few ideas with you. I spent a lot of time the last couple of days kind of preparing for this, thinking about this, thinking about where you guys are at, thinking about some of the conversations that I've been having with coaches already, and some ideas that I can share with you. So while it might not be a comprehensive list, I do think the most valuable thing that hopefully you'll get from this is in your own mind some ideas, some thoughts, some strategies on what you need to do to keep going strong whenever you hit these droughts in your business. Because the reality is, and I want to set your expectations on this, we all go through them. Everybody goes through them. You're going to have droughts in your business. There are cycles to that, and it's normal to have droughts. So it doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong necessarily, all right? And in fact, this time of year, this is actually kind of a very common mile 18 moment for a lot of people a lot of coaches in the business right now. And you really, honestly, and speaking in generalities, there's kind of two groups that I'm gonna talk, that I want to put you in. And maybe you're straddling them, but hopefully you'll still be able to get some information, some value from this. But at this point of the year, we usually kind of have coaches in one of two categories. The first category is what I call our pushers, right? And our pushers are the people who've been pushing for their goals all year. These are the ones that have been really, really going hard. And boy, they're hitting this month and they're just kind of like, holy cow. They're feeling like I did at that mile 18 of my marathon, when I'm just like, is this ever going to end? Oh my gosh, I'm so tired of doing these things. This is so heavy for me. This is so difficult. Those are my pushers. And I'll talk to you about that specifically in just a minute, right? Pushers, we got to worry about, we'll talk about that in just a minute. I don't want to get too much into it. And then the second group are maybe our our group of coaches who start off the year strong. They had some big goals, and then summer kind of happened, and things kind of got away from them a little bit, and they let some habits slip. And then once they slipped a little bit, it was a little bit easier to let them slip a little bit more. And now, you know, we kind of get back into the fall, and the kids are starting to go back into school, and now we're kind of starting to go, oh my gosh, I need to get my business going again. I've got these goals that I was pushing for, and now I'm wondering if I should even do it. And now there's that temptation to go, well, I've kind of missed this year, so I'm just going to kind of coast through until January, and then I'll go again, right? So I have my pushers and what I call my pausers. And I'm going to talk to you guys, if you can. I'm going to talk to you in kind of those two different groups and share some strategies with you. But the overarching takeaway, you guys, in addition to all these strategies, but the big thing that I want you to take away so far, I'm going to set up right here at the beginning so you can hear it. First and foremost, droughts happen. Sometimes we bring them on ourselves, and sometimes they're just kind of part of the cyclical nature of the business. The second thing is you just got to push through them. Honestly, it is one of those pieces of having a business when you have to deal with these cycles, and you have to have a business owner mindset to push through these droughts, meaning to get really detailed, really engaged in what you need to be doing and keep pushing through those. And I'll share some ideas with you in just a minute. And the third thing is not to let it start to define your business. Don't let the drought define you or define what you're doing. Okay? The drought might be there, but it doesn't have to define you and how you see yourself, how you see your business, because that just makes the drought last a little bit farther. All right? So a couple things to consider now as we get started in this. I want you to just ask yourself before I jump into some details here. I want you to think a little bit. If you are a coach who's going through a drought right now, and if you're not, maybe you're in a good spot right now, which bravo, but when you hit a drought, maybe you can remember this. Ask yourself a question. The first one is you really need to try and identify what is the cause of the drought. And you're going to have to be honest with yourself. You're going to have to really take some time to think through what it means. Meaning, for example, for my pushers, those are that one group, right? Has maybe burnout caused me to engage less meaningfully with my business? Meaning maybe I'm kind of doing the same thing, but man, I have just tapped myself out emotionally, and I just don't have enough there that I'm giving anymore for people. So is burnout causing me to engage less meaningfully in my business? And when that happens, slowly, okay, that can bring on a drought. For my pausers, okay, have you gotten out of the habits of doing the things that you need to do consistently, okay, for your business to be successful? Did you let that slip? Have you let that slide? Okay, and sometimes, honestly, you guys, if you look at the cause of the drought and you're like, it's not one of those, sometimes you're just in a dry spell. In which case, when I work with coaches, I always teach them a simple concept that I call controlling the controllable, which is to be very aware of the things that you can control to be successful in your business. And then you just make sure that you are laser focused on doing those things. And that will push you through that dry spell quickly. All right? So let's talk more detail now about what you can do. And again, the point of this is not to give you an exhaustive list of things to do, but if I'm talking to you and maybe something kind of pricks your heart a little bit or something zings into your mind and it's helpful to you, that's what the goal of this next section is, okay? So first I want to talk to my pushers. The pushers are the ones on the call here that have been just pushing really hard this year. The ones that have just been going at it and going at it and going at it and going at it. And maybe we're getting a little bit of burnout come on. Maybe we're just kind of getting a little bit of that mile 18 that's hitting us where we're just going, man, I don't know if I can keep doing this. This is just crazy. I don't know if I can keep doing this. Those are the pushers. If you're a pusher and you're in a drought, I want you to consider a few things for me, okay? 3 things actually. The biggest thing for you is I want to make sure that you are managing your emotional energy. We've got to be really good stewards as business owners. And this business as coaches, especially you pushers right now that are maybe in a drought, you have to understand that one of the biggest currencies for your business is this emotional energy. This thing that you give to people to encourage them, to motivate them, to inspire them, to answer the phone calls, to walk them off ledges. All those things takes emotional energy from you. And a lot of times when we're pushing, and we're giving that away freely, but we're not doing a good job about replenishing that. Okay, our if you will, our well is dry, right? We're bleeding our well dry because we're giving out so much without replenishing it. So here's a couple suggestions if you're in the pusher category that I want you to consider. First and foremost, I want you to really look at your business, and I'm going to ask you if you'll just consider removing some of the layers that you've maybe allowed to pile up on you. Okay, you had good intentions, you've tried some new things, you've done some other things, but maybe over the year, in your effort to push, you've allowed some layers to build up in your business. And those layers, again, good intention, have really started to weigh you down. You've overcommitted yourself in certain areas. You've put too much out there that you can't really keep up with, and now you're at the point where you're just trying to spin plates and keep the plates from falling, but you can't really commit yourself to something. You can't really put your mind to something, and it's sucking away your emotional energy. So how do we do this? We really start by going back to basics. Okay? It is hard to say no once you've got used to saying yes. But you've got to learn to manage that emotional energy, right? So the thing is, we got to go back to basics. Start again with our 3 vital behaviors, you guys. Are we doing those things, and are we doing those things well? All right. Make sure that if you're not doing those, again, be very judicious. I want you to think about it this way. So first one is look at the basics, right? 3 vital behaviors kind of being your platform. The second thing that I'm going to ask you to do in this regard of ours, removing layers, is I want you to look for the last 3-4 weeks, and I want you to just list all the things that you did for your business, and I want you to label them good, better, or best, meaning what's good things I did for my business, what's better things I did for my business, and what are the best things I did for my business. And the reason is this: a lot of times when you add layers, it's not with bad things. It's not with things that aren't going to be helpful. But what they are we're filling our life with good and better things at the expense of doing the best things well. And so we want to make sure that the best things we do first, that we know clearly what those things are, and we don't lose the best things or doing the best things at our very strongest at the expense of the good and better things that might get into our business. One of the things I'll teach coaches in terms of managing your emotional energy is this idea. I'll say you need to define your 6. And what I mean by that is on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being you're not doing anything, and 10 being, all you're doing is Beachbody and you're ignoring your kids and blah, 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 and all that stuff. We want to find a 6. And we want to find out, and we want to know what it is and what it feels like to be at a 6. And a 6 are those best activities that we need to do to keep our business going. And once we define what those best activities are, once we know what that 6 is, then we keep our business at a 6. Now, there might be times when you have to bump it up to an 8 for a rank maybe, or you're going for a bonus or something happens, and that's fine. But we bump it up to an 8 until we're done, and then we slide back down to a 6. What we don't want to do is get in the habit of redlining ourselves at an 8 or a 9, and then when we're done, we burn out, we collapse all the way down to a 2, because that'll damage our business, and it'll damage our credibility as leaders. It'll damage our ability with our challengers. It'll hurt us and our ability to coach, and it'll also hurt our own confidence. So you need to define your 6, okay? What are those best activities you need to do? Not the good and better ones, the best ones. What are those best activities? Write them down, identify them, game plan around what we need to do to get those things done, okay? And lastly, as regards to removing the layers, I'm going to encourage you to also put your phone down. From time to time, it's okay to put your phone down. Again, this is for my pushers, right? My pushers that are out there. It's okay to kind of take some time to yourself every once in a while. Okay, the second thing for my pushers. So the first one is remove the layers that you've allowed to pile up on you, to go back to the basics, to find those best activities, and to really hold yourself accountable to those best activities first and foremost, and give yourself permission to put your phone down. The second thing for my pushers, okay, I'm going to ask you to put down the burden of perfection as you pursue your goals this year. Good goals are meant to push you, and they should, okay? If your goals aren't pushing you, they're probably not good goals. But it's also important to understand that they're goals, good goals, because they push you, take you into uncharted territory. They take you into new ground. And so you're supposed to be imperfect when you go into that when you're doing that. When you're uncomfortable, you're probably doing the right thing, because it shows that you're pushing into uncharted waters for yourself and for your business. And of course that you want to do it be as good as you possibly can be. And of course you don't want to let anyone down. And of course you want to make sure that it's a reflection of your very best. But here's the deal. There's no point, or there is a point, when stressing out about a post so much can make the post worse. Okay? When you've looked at a post for an hour, you've probably overthought that post, okay? There's a point when wanting to help your coaches so badly can actually start to hurt them. okay? When we start to enable them, when we start to do things that we maybe shouldn't do, and as far as creating a business owner mindset with them. There's a point when wanting to go so bad that it hurts changes how you go after it. And instead of motivating you, it can start beating you down. All of those things usually happen when we're afraid to fail, when we're afraid of imperfection. So stop holding on so tight that you're killing yourself. You need to enjoy your business. You need to smile. You need to have an optimistic attitude and positive energy. Those things will do a lot more for your business than a perfect post will, I promise you. Okay? So let go. Take off that burden of trying to be perfect as you're pursuing your goals. Okay? Not as an excuse for not acting, but as a way to kind of manage the energy that you're exuding into your business. Point number 3 for my pushers. I'm going to ask you to stay positive. Mile 18, guys, it plays with your brain. It feels like it's forever, but it's not. It really is not. You just have to keep running and do it with a smile on your face, because you're going to get through it. You need to find peace within your best efforts, not perfection, but within your best efforts, and then fight the negativity. A couple ideas to help you do this if you're struggling with this. I want you to make sure you kiss your kids. Give your spouse a hug. Surprise them if you don't do that very often. They might not know how to respond when that happens, right? But what I mean is take the time to be present with your loved ones. And if you're not married, go do your hobby and enjoy it, okay? Do something in that regard that keeps you smiling, that keeps your center, your core, your why, the things that matter most in your life, powerful and strong in your mind, in your life, okay? The second thing, if you're having a hard time keeping positive, go for a walk and just count your blessings, okay? I'll do this from time to time, and I have to walk. So if I sit down and try and do it, my brain goes 100 miles an hour. I'll go out and I'll walk and I'll look at the mountains here in Utah. I'll do something else, and I just make a rule with myself. For 15 minutes, all I can think about are the things in my life that I've been given that I probably don't merit. My wife, my kids, the great people I get to work with here at Beachbody, right? All the things in my life that I don't merit, that I have been given. And I can't help but coming in after that 15-minute walk just feeling good about what I'm doing and where I'm at. And the third thing then is to be a guardian of your mind. You have to control your inputs that go into your brain. Remember this idea, right? Inputs lead to thoughts, which lead to actions, which lead to habits, and habits are the things that really determine the outcomes in our life and our character. So be a guardian of your mind. Watch what you're listening to. Make sure you're engaging in personal development. Make sure you're doing all those things, okay? Now, what does this have to do? Again, I'm going to make sure that this is clear with getting through the drought. Well, if you're a pusher and you've been redlining, you've been running pretty hard, and you're hitting this month of September and you're just like, oh my goodness, I'm out of breath. First and foremost, realize you're at mile 18. It's not supposed to be easy, okay? But you can get through it. The biggest thing we need to do is make sure that we're managing our emotional energy, right? We talked through some ideas on that, really making sure we're taking the layers off our business, the things that we've allowed to make our business heavier than it needs to be. Go back to the basics. Really simplify that. Identify our actions that are good, better, and best, and make sure the best ones are the ones that we're doing every single day, and those are the ones that get our time and attention, and our good and better activities don't crowd out the best activities or our ability to perform those best activities well. And then finally, define your 6. Get really clear, get purposeful in what you're doing so you have a plan every day. Then as you're going through this, remember to take down that burden of perfection that you put on your shoulders. Of course you want to be great, of course you're going to do that, and you will, okay? But you're doing new things. And so trying to be perfect in new things is setting yourself up for failure, and that's going to drain that emotional energy. It's going to create negativity in your life. You don't want to do that, okay? So make sure you do that. The third thing is again, to stay positive. As you're going through the droughts aren't fun. They're not supposed to be fun. They are hard, but they are a choice that we have to decide how we're going to handle it. So stay positive. Decide to stay positive. Remember to keep yourself centered on the things that matter most in your life, your family, those around you, the things that give you joy. Keep centered on those things. Put those things first, and other things, I promise you, you'll find room for everything else. Go for a walk. Be aware of the blessings that are in your life, and then really be mindful of the inputs that we're getting in our mind, because in a very real sense, what we put in our mind affects what we project and what we put out there, and it can prolong a drought, prolong a dry spell, as much as anything else, okay? Now, I want to talk to my pausers. Now, my pausers are the ones that start out real strong and had a good year going, and then summer kind of happened, and typically this time of the year, they're kind of faced with a decision, which is, do I just kind of mail it in the rest of the year and kind of go through it until January comes, or do I really want to try to make something out of this year? I'm going to invite you to do 3 things as well, all right? And this group right here, I'm going to be direct to as well, and I hope I don't offend anybody, but I just want you to kind of hear the truth, at least how I've seen it in my experience. If you're a pauser, feel very comfortable in knowing that you're not the only pauser out there. So don't be all guilt-ridden, and don't be, all that stuff that happened already this year, you can't do anything about it, so don't worry about it. Don't be thinking I shouldn't have done this, or I could have done this, or whatever. That's fine. We're here now. We're at this point in our business, and you're probably looking at this drought, and it feels bigger than it actually is. It feels bigger it is because of you've maybe let some habits slide that you need to get back in gear and doing again. It probably feels the drought feels longer because you haven't been doing the things that you know you should have been doing, so there might be a little bit of guilt in there as well. So let me talk to you just a little bit if you're one of my pausers. The first thing I'm going to ask you to do is I want you to rediscover your why. I just want you to get in touch with it again. I want you to think about it. And it might seem kind of silly, and you might go, well, I already know what it is, but just trust me on this one. I want you to find 15 minutes, maybe 20, and clear your mind and think about why you want to coach. What is it about coaching that you like? What is it? What is your why for coaching? And you might understand for a lot of you, especially those that have been around a little while, your why might evolve. It might be time to kind of rediscover it, or at least recommit to why you started. I want you to take an inventory of yourself and where you're at. And understand that you really, even if you've been around for a while, you do need a purpose to what you do. And you need to know what that is. And it needs to be relevant to you right now. It can't just have been relevant to you in January or last year or 3 months ago. It's got to be relevant to you right now. So rediscover that why. There's 3 things I want to talk through on that. First, obviously, if it needs to evolve, it's going to evolve. I mentioned that already. The second one is I'm going to challenge you to make your why, once you kind of find it again, I want you to figure out a way to make it more present in your life. And I'm not talking some cheesy, I don't know, I won't say cheesy in case some of you do it, then you'll think I'm making fun of how you keep your why present. But when I say keep your why present is I don't want you to walk away from that, because right now you're not really in the habit of keeping it present if you're a pauser. So we want to keep this present. For example, this year I turned 40. And I had some big goals that I wanted to get done by the time I was 40. And so all in January, in my bathroom mirror with dry erase marker, I wrote a big 40, and I put it on the mirror. And every day when I got in, I saw it in there. And then once a month on my rearview mirror, I updated kind of the things I were trying to do that month. And I put on again, in dry erase marker, in my rearview mirror, words like just little keywords that would remind me what I'm doing. That was me trying to keep my why present. It was me not walking away too far from my why in the craziness of life and the things that were going on. Make your why present. The third thing, and this might be a little bit hard, okay, but part of rediscovering your why is also then rediscovering a little bit of a sense of urgency. What do you ask yourself, okay, what am I missing by just being good enough? Or even maybe just by sitting on the sidelines. What assumptions are you making about your future that your future self will look back on right now and say, if I'd only known, I would have acted differently? That's a powerful one to me. And think about maybe the people that you could have helped had you been engaged. All right? Whatever that takes for you to really, I guess, commit to that, to feel that sense of urgency again. Create that into your mind, because in a very real sense, time's going to go by, and you're either going to use it or you're not going to use it. And when you're staring at a drought, the easy thing to do is let the drought just go and just let the drought be, because it takes work to change it. It takes work to build those habits back again, but it's worth it. It's worth it. Create that sense of urgency. So the first one for my pausers, rediscover your why. The second thing, I'm going to encourage you then to focus on self-discipline. Again, typically with my pausers, you've walked away from maybe some habits, or you've kind of let them slide a little bit that you needed to be doing in your business. It might even be with your own personal fitness. A lot of other things might be coming along. It's time to now focus on self-discipline. Self-discipline is a magical thing because it unlocks a lot of facets of our life beyond just our business. The ability to discipline ourselves to do the things that we need to do to be successful allows us to be more productive, more effective. We feel better about ourselves when we feel like we are the masters of our own ship, when we are happening to life and life isn't happening to us. That all starts with self-discipline. I want you to think of success in your business or in anything really as a stew. It's not one thing, it's not two things, it's a collection of things. And in this stew, there's going to be ingredients that you like and some you don't like. For example, every winter, my mom makes this brown stew that is amazing. I love my mom's brown stew. And she'll bring it over to the house, and honestly, when she first brings it out, all I want to do is pick out the steak, right? There's big chunks of steak that's in there. I just want to pick out, why? Because I like the steak, right? There's also carrots and some other things in there that aren't my favorite. I go right for the steak. I don't know how I got on that whole tangent, but stew's good. My mom's stew is really good. But the point is there's ingredients in there that you like and some that you don't like. Here's the deal with discipline. All of those ingredients are necessary for you to be successful. And it's really easy for us to just spend all of our time doing the things that we like to do. But the problem is if we don't do the things that are necessary for our success that we don't like to do, success is going to keep eluding us. It's going to feel like we're walking into this drought again. It's going to feel like it's hard. We're going to feel busy, but we're not getting the progress we need to do. The self-discipline, what that does is it helps us do the things that are hard for us. A lot of people, in fact, as long as I'm mentioning it, one of the reasons why it's hard to teach people how to be successful, in my opinion, is one of the key determining factors of success is the discipline to do the hard things. And for every one of us, the hard things in our life are different. The hard things required of us to be successful are different. And so that's why it's hard to teach that. So what's the best thing we can do is teach self-discipline. It's not that successful people, that the hard things in their lives are easier for them. They just look at them differently. They understand that if they want to be successful, they've got to eat the whole stew. They've got to eat the stuff that they've got to do the things they like to do, but they've got to have the self-discipline to do the hard things that they don't like to do, but that are necessary for their success. All right. And so a lot of times when we go into these droughts, for my pausers, we may have been still doing parts of our business that we like. We're picking out the steak like I do in the stew. And we feel like we're pausing. And the reason why we feel like we're pausing is we've lost the self-discipline to do the things necessary for our success that we don't like to do. And so now it's time to bring that self-discipline back to get re-engaged in those things. The third thing for my pausers, okay, is to start doing something now. It's an interesting thing about this. One of these things on this call, if you're a pauser especially, this call, you might have some ideas and kind of think of some things to do, but then you're going to have about a 2-hour window after this call's over to make some key decisions. Because in 2 hours, the feeling of the call, kind of the glow of the call, the ideas that you had, those little whisperings that were like, hey, maybe I should change some things, or it's time to get going, they'll start to fade. The football game will be on or something else will be on, and you'll kind of forget about it, and pretty soon you'll kind of fall right back into where you were again. The hard thing is within this next 2-hour window is to make some key decisions on what you're going to do differently, including the key starting point to get that done. The longer we hold a weight, the heavier it gets. It was a really interesting thing when I'm doing the beast workouts, right? And I got my wife's yoga weights. They're 8 pounds. It's not really hard at the beginning, but the longer I'm having to do those curls, the heavier that gets. All right, which is really hard on my ego when I can't curl the yoga weights all the way, okay? The longer we hold a weight, the heavier it gets. The longer we think about starting, the harder it is to get started. The longer we hold that in our mind, the harder it is to actually get started, the heavier that it actually gets. Jeff Hill is very fond of saying that it's the start that stops most people. We can't, if we're serious about this, we can't let that happen. Once you start moving, you'll feel better. So stop thinking about it, stop overly preparing for it, stop getting ready to get ready, and get going. Just start doing something, start doing something, start doing something. Having a game plan in the next 2 hours, decide on your game plan for the next 2 weeks. And keep it simple, give yourself starting points, and find a way to hold yourself accountable and get started. Honestly, guys, and I'll wrap here right now. There are droughts in our business. They happen. And knowing that, the good news is we honestly get to decide. Our choices will help us impact how long these droughts last for us in a lot of ways, but we definitely can decide how we let these droughts define our business or not define our business. If we allow ourselves to be impacted emotionally, mentally, negatively, if they start impacting our choices, then the drought's defining our business and we're not defining our business, and we don't want to do that. Don't let the drought define your mind or dictate how you act. Keep your power to choose by staying consistent with the things you can control, those best things. You've got 15 weeks left in 2015. 15 weeks. How do you want to end this year? Because honestly, especially for my pausers out there, 2016 is going to start in January. And one of the lies you might be telling yourself is when January comes, I'm just going to get started. You can't just flip a switch like that. How you end 2015 is going to impact directly how you start 2016. And so set some goals. Set some aggressive goals for yourself to end in the next 15 weeks. Set yourself up to have a great 2016 by how you end. We remember you guys, honestly. Well, let me say this. I promise you guys, okay, and I feel pretty confident in saying this, that there's at least one person out there who needs you still this year. They need you. They're waiting for you. And I hope you'll go find them. We remember how we end, not how we start necessarily. And we've got 15 weeks left. It's time to show yourself what you're made of, to fight against that burn of lactic acid that's building up in your business muscles, right? If you've been pushing for a long time, it's time to prove yourself who's the master of your destiny. So let's go, you guys. Seriously, let's freaking go. If there's uncertainty and discomfort, embrace it. Don't be like everyone else and let that stop you. The pain of disappointment and regret is far more bitter than pushing through. You're the master of your own ship, and your ability to choose your actions and what you do is more powerful than anything that life can throw at you. Movement creates movement, so keep moving. Get through the drought. Sometimes you won't feel like you're moving for anything other than the value of learning what the drought has to teach you, and that's okay. Because as long as you're moving, you're winning. The chapter of your life entitled 2015 is nearly over, and the end will be here before you know it. The question you've got is, what will those final paragraphs say? So I hope that you'll end strong, you guys. Thank you guys so much for the chance to be here. Lindsay, I will come off broadcast mode and throw it back to you. Thank you guys very much.
Holy moly. Gosh, I can tell by the chat that is like going nuts right now that everybody is feeling the same way I am, which is like, okay, I'm ready to go back to work. That was amazing, and I think exactly what everyone needed to hear. I am obsessed with analogies, and that weight one, I've never heard that before, and that was just incredible. So thank you so much for spending this past 37 minutes with us. It was, I know for certain, life-changing for at least one person out there. I hope many of you guys. We had right at 400 people on the call. Any of you guys who have a single coach on your team, I'm going to post this recording right afterward, and I want you to go ahead and share it with each of your coaches. Let them know, just, hey, will you do me a favor and watch this for 38 minutes just to see how you feel afterwards. If you feel nothing, then you know this is probably not for you. But I think we all know that they won't feel that way. So Kim, again, thank you so much. I so appreciate it. And guys, seriously, take this momentum, take that synergy that you feel in your gut right now and go and run with it, because 15 weeks is way longer than you need to even complete P90X, which seems like an eternity to finish. So you know we have plenty of time to do amazing things in your business. I appreciate y'all, and I'll see you guys again next Monday. Thanks again, Ken.